It is now 1 o'clock, and we would like to welcome you to today's presentation, the Hospital Inspector Certification Exam Preparation Webinar. My name is Caesar, and I will be your host for today. Today is February 16th. Like I mentioned, you are here for the IOR Certification Code and Plans webinar. This is the first part in a 5-part series, so we hope that you enjoy it, and we hope that you gather a lot of good information from this webinar and find it useful first and foremost. So for handouts, we have uploaded today's presentation. They are in PDF format, and we've also uploaded a tips from the experts, a guide for working on projects under OSHPD's jurisdiction for your use. So if you haven't downloaded those, please feel free to download those in the handout section of the go-to panel. We are here for about a 30-minute presentation, give or take, which will allow us to field your questions. We will be presenting this webinar in an open mic format, so we hope that we were able to have some discussion from you. So throughout the presentation, we're going to go and answer your questions. So if you have a question, next to your name in the go-to webinar panel, there's a little hand, and that's the raise your hand feature in go-to webinar. So if you have a question, click that hand, and we will monitor those who do raise their hands and want to have a discussion on a particular topic. Please be sure to have questions specific to this presentation. If you have questions outside of this presentation that are project specific, or if we don't get a chance to answer your questions, feel free to email us at oshpd.fddisu@oshpd.ca.gov. Again, that's oshpd.fddisu@oshpd.ca.gov. If the presentation experienced difficulties, we will go ahead and log off and log back in. So if you experience that on your end, please feel free to log off, log back in using the information that the go-to software sent you. And like I said, we would go ahead and do the same. I do want to point out one thing before we get started. At times, you may not be able to hear us. So, or if you know someone who is joining us and they contact you saying, I can't hear anything, please feel free to go under the audio tab in the go-to panel, and under speakers, there's a list of available options. So you might want to go ahead and search for the available options and try different things before logging off and logging back in. So again, if you experience transmission difficulties, we'll try to help you out as much as we can, but log off and log back in if nothing else works. So for today, we have presenter is going to be Monica Colosi. She is a compliance officer within the Inspection Services Unit, and she's going to be going over a lot of information, so keep notes. And again, feel free to download that presentation in PDF format if you haven't done so already. So Monica, if you're there, the presentation is all yours.
Thank you, Caesar, and good afternoon to everybody, and welcome to our plan reading webinar. Today, we will go through the architectural part 1. Thursday, we will do the part 2. Each week, like Caesar mentioned, we will add different discipline with the same criteria of the 2 parts, part 1 on Tuesday and part 2 on Thursday. So, are you ready for the architectural portion? Let's go through. The architectural discipline has 2 parts for the exam, the code and the plans. For the part of the code, Class A has 10 questions and Class B has 12 questions. A sample that is not included in our actual exam about a code architecture questions read, in hospitals, which one of the following is not required to be included within a dressing room for a nuclear medicine space? And there are the multiple answers, A, B, C, and D. Nurse call station, seat or bench, mirror, provisions for hanging clothes. But how are we going to look for the response? In the code, there is the index. And in the index, what you can look is for nuclear medicine, since the question is for nuclear medicine space. In the nuclear medicine section, the 1224.34, you need to go through it, of course, and see what is identified for patient dressing rooms. The section 1224.34.2.7, and I don't know, Cesar, if the people can see my cursor running around, refers to patient dressing room requirement. You can see that the seat or bench is required. A mirror is required, so it's not the answer, and provisions for hanging patient clothing is required as well. Therefore, it's not the part of the answer. So what was the requirement in the code? The nurse call station, that is not required, and that is the answer. We will go through the exam process and the PDF material to you for the exam on March 30th. So you will have the PDF for reference. And again, we will go through this on March 30th. So don't panic about how to find the information through the PDF during the exam. We will go through again on March 30th. So register for that webinar. For the planned portion of the exam, Class A has 13 questions and Class B has 7 questions. Before to go through the examples for the planned reading, we want to share a few things. Why are we doing this? The reason of this type of webinar is to guide you to go through the right process for the exam. You probably know already how to read plans, or maybe you struggle. We are here to guide you, to help you. Know how to read plans is necessary for your future profession as IOR. You need to understand constructions versus construction document, right? So let's analyze the questions with the correct responses, how to read, to interpret the questions, how to arrive to the response. Sometimes the approach is easy and sometimes it's not, like in the actual construction process. Remember, plans are not perfect. We wish that, but they are not perfect. And this is why RFIs are issued during construction document process, right? What do approved construction document content? They include the original approved set, they have RFIs, they have no material alteration change, they have material alteration change, all these one identified with their specific delta number. The information can be anywhere in the drawings and also in specifications, but usually some of the general information of a project may appear on the drawing title sheets, and some specific information will be contained in drawing details and also in schedules. This is an example of how a table of content is. You can see here the different disciplines. And this is, of course, in the overall with the different categories that you can have in a plan of document. You may have all of these, or you may have few, depends from the scope of the project. Each discipline contains general symbols, legend, abbreviation, general notes specific for that discipline. Plan, elevation, sections, those also on different scale of drawings. Details, scheduling, diagrams, any other information that is required for the specific discipline, and sometimes there are also 3D drawings. In the example we are going to show you, you can see the different discipline. This is called Master Drawing Index. The main one is the cover page, the general notes, the UL assembly. Sometimes the UL assembly are included in a specific discipline, and sometimes the UL assemblies are in the general drawings. So don't be stubborn to try to find just in a specific location. Be flexible to navigate through all the set of drawings, because not always a specific information is where you're thinking. Today, we are going through the architectural discipline. Therefore, we are going to show you what are the disciplines that are relevant in order to answer to the plan reading questions for architectural portion. The architectural relevant drawings are, of course, under the architectural discipline. And in this case, you can see also the kitchen plans. Under the architectural plans, there are life safety plans, overall plans, dimension plans, noted plans, and the noted plans are the plans where there are indicated the wall type, the call out for interior elevations. Then there are also equipment plans, enlarged plans, elevation, ceiling plans, which are reflected ceiling plans, roof plans, exterior elevation, wall section, general details, door schedule and their details, casework elevation and their details. So there are lots of information. So you need always, for whatever question there is during the exam for the plan, remember to go always to the index of the drawings, because that is the way for you to find the first option for you to arrive to the answer. Something that we would like to remind you is that what you need to look in the drawings. You need to look into notes. You need to look into keywords, detail, typical details, general notes. But most important, you need to look sometimes on the discipline, because to make a good project, all the discipline needs to talk to each other. This means that sometimes some information that you might think it is in the architectural plans is not. So you might look into the structural drawings or into mechanical drawings and so on. So let's go with the first example and see how we are going through. And of course, like Cesar said, if you have any question after this example, feel free to ask whatever you need in order to clarify the process to arrive to the specific answer. And again, like Cesar said, raise your hand if you need to ask, and Cesar will open the mic and we will go through. Remember, this is an open mic presentation, is a guide to you. We want to help you to go through the plan reading. So this is the first example. The first question reads, what is the total number of luminaires connected to the emergency electrical system located within patient room 2B12? To guide you, the number 2 in 2B12 represent what? Represent the floor. So you know you need to look at which floor? The second floor. And to find information, you need to look into the reflected ceiling plan, because we're talking about lights that are on the ceiling. In the second ceiling plan, because it is the second floor, that is where you have to go. As in this page, you see the portion of the floor plan, and you see the legend is on the top right. You can identify where the room 2B12 is. And sometimes you might look here, you might look directly on the reflected ceiling plan, or you might look on other floor plans that are more clear in order to read the room number, and then you will jump to the specific floor plan, like in this case actually is the ceiling plan. So remember, you always need to be flexible. We are enlarging the ceiling plan for better look, and what do you see? You see different symbols for light fixture, different information for light fixture. So what do you need to do is to look for the ceiling legend that is on the top right and see which symbols is included in that specific room, the 2B12. But not only you need to see the symbol matching that specific room, you need, in order to answer to the question, you need to look for the emergency light fixture. For emergency is also considered the critical. So which are the symbols in the ceiling legend defined, described as critical or emergency, and which are the matching in the room 2B12? So you see, I highlighted in yellow the two types of emergency lights, for the legend and for the plan, the critical branch and the life safety branch. You may also think that these are symbols could answer to the question, but the symbols highlighted in red are for normal branch, so not an emergency. So do not consider this one. Do not count this in order to answer to the question. So now, by looking the room with a critical and an emergency light, what do you have? You can see here highlighted in yellow 3 numbers of luminaire connected to the emergency electrical system, and this is the answer. So now, Cesar, if somebody has the raised hand for the specific question.
Thanks, Monica. Yeah, so we have one question from Keith. Keith, I'm going to go ahead and unmute your mic. So if you can unmute yourself we'd like to hear from you and want to take this opportunity to encourage others who want to have a discussion or aren't sure or want further clarification on the examples that Monica is providing. Please raise your hand. Again, this is an open mic forum. Feel comfortable to ask questions. And don't be embarrassed, because we're all learning something new here. So Keith, if you're there, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. So if you can unmute yourself, that would be great.
I think I'm unmuted.
We can hear you, Keith.
Okay. Thank you for taking my question. My question derives from the figure circled here, the light fixture that's to the left, that's shaded in the center with the rectangle around it. I'm not seeing that depicted in the legend.
You have here, can you see me pointing?
I see you pointing.
Okay, so this circle is this circle. This rectangle with a white circle is this rectangle with a white circle, and this one is over here.
Correct. I'm referring to the one to the far left.
Which one? This one?
I can't see where you're pointing.
I don't know which one you're pointing.
There's three highlighted in yellow. So there's one on the right, there's one in the middle. So the one that has shaded, the circle is shaded, and then the outside has no shading on it.
The circle shaded is on the bottom of the legend as life safety. The same is the rectangle shaded with the circle white. And then there is the critical branch that is the rectangle with diagonal shade and the white circle.
Now, Monica, if I can ask for a clarification on my end, the highlighted yellow, the one that Keith is pointing out, highlighted in yellow, the box, the rectangle is created by the highlight feature in PDF, correct? It's not an actual box.
I think talking about, yes, it's the same feature to highlight. It's not an actual rectangle with the circle with the edge. No. That was me to highlight in using the same rectangle in yellow to identify. Don't get confused, please. That's right.
Yeah, that's. I think Keith. I think that was throwing us off. So thank you, Monica, for that.
Oh no problem at all. Any more questions about it?
I'm gonna go ahead and search through the items here. It looks like we have a question that was typed in. It says there's two symbols in the legend for wall mounted. Could you clarify that, Monica?
Which are the wall mounted that you're talking about? Because you need to pay attention only where it says critical, emergency, life safety. Otherwise, they are not considered, specific for this room anyway, they are not considered an emergency. We need to stick on the question, not on the different type of questions. And this is why, for example, for this type, where it says a normal branch, these are normal, so you cannot consider to answer to the question. Make sense?
Great. Yeah, and Tim, I believe you were the one who asked the question, so I see your hand is raised as well, so I'd like to unmute you. If you'd like to unmute yourself, that'd be great. I'd like to hear from you.
Hi, guys. Yeah, so it was more about trying to provide an answer, I think, to clarify the first question. If you look in the legend, to me, there are two types of wall-mounted bracket fixtures, right? There's something that's smaller that just has the circular one, which more than likely is a local fixture rather than a big fluorescent 4-foot bulb. So there's actually there's two in the legend for wall mounted, which is the bottom one out of it, right? There are two diagrams for that or pictures, right? So that's where that's at. That's what I was. It's not so much a question. The first one is about recessed or T-bar lights, right? Whereas the other ones are wall mounted.
The circle. The rectangle is not.
Great, Monica.
You're breaking up.
You're a little bit, but that's okay. So I think we have a bit of feedback coming in from the multiple audio options. So we hope that answers your question. Paul, I see that you have your hand raised. So Tim, thank you for that. I'm going to go ahead, mute yourself. Thank you for doing that. Paul, I see you have your hand raised, so I'd like to go ahead and call on you. I'm going to unmute you, so if you can unmute yourself, that'd be great. Paul?
Yes, thank you. So the only thing I'm having a little issue with here is you also have a life safety branch surface or recessed fluorescent fixture also included, and the question says, what's the total number of luminaires connected to the emergency electrical system? Mm-hmm. So I'm just wondering, that could be a little misleading because the life safety branch surface mount would also be off on your emergency electrical because it's life safety. So how would one taking the test, how are we going to, the symbol, I understand the legend looks, it's a little bit different. It has it's not quite shaded as the one above it. But from taking a test point of view and I'm being under pressure and how do we distinguish that?
You have to do one thing. I totally understand that during the pressure, during the exam, the panic, of course, goes above and beyond. Pay attention on the legend. If it says just normal, that is the key. If it says normal, is golden, is just normal, you're good. When you read critical, life safety, or you read emergency, everything goes into the emergency. If for one reason you think that you don't agree and you think deeply that, for example, the life safety, for whatever reason you think is not considered into the emergency for whatever, remember, and this one we will go through on March 30, each response has a challenge. So if you think for emergency, you look only the critical branch, and you are excluding the life safety.
Oh, so you're saying that the life safety would not be part of the critical branch?
It is
or the emergency electrical system is what you're saying?
It is part of the emergency electrical system.
Okay, so why isn't that fixture then, that life safety branch surface, why wouldn't that be included? Now, I understand there's no diagram on in that particular room, but if there was, then that would also be included. Would that be correct?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, but I see that we are highlighted and he's in the room, so I'm confused.
No, because you have a critical branch surface of recessed fluorescent, and then below that, and right below that, you have the life safety branch surface, right? So
you're talking about, but he's not in the room. We're looking for the specific room to be
right. So I'm just saying though, if you could find a room where you have all of this. Right? It's just the way it's
definitely. Oh my goodness, yes. But we are looking for 2B12. So you need to match the information. So you look the room and then you look the legend and whatever is matching for this specific room. So of course there are other life safety branch like in the legend, but they are not applicable to that specific room 2B12.
Right. Okay. It's just the wording, I think, is a little, like everything else. It's just the way you read it. But thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Paul, you bring up some very good points, and we being under pressure while taking an exam can take a toll as well. So, word of advice: you got to be sure you read the question down to the T, right? Being able to identify the room number that we're asking for and what's within that room, if that's what we're truly asking. So thank you for raising your hand, and I want to go ahead. Alexander, I believe you had your hand up. I don't know if you want to go ahead and raise your hand, or if you want to go ahead and continue, or maybe your question got answered already. So again, we want to encourage you this type of discussion. This is great discussion, which we're able to clarify some misconceptions or maybe some items that you're not quite clear about. So Alexander, I see that you haven't raised your hand, so we're going to go ahead and continue. So feel free to raise your hand as we move forward. Monica, the presentation is yours again.
Okay, thank you. And again, good point. Pay attention on every question. If there is a specific room that is a part of the question, focus on that specific room. Otherwise, the answer is going to be wrong, of course. So let's go with the second example and see how we are going through. And of course, again, if you have any question after this example, feel free to ask whatever you need in order to clarify the process to arrive to the specific answer. Again, raise your hand if you need to ask, like Cesar explained before. This is going to be tough, so stay with me. The question reads, the exterior screen wall framing surrounding RTU equipment at the roof should have a build-up finish in the following order. And you have the four sequence, the four order for the building up. If you don't know what RTU is a rooftop air handling unit, and the information could be in the mechanical drawings. But since the question is in the architectural question, let's try to find the response in the architectural information. Where is the exterior screen wall framing surrounding the RTU equipment? Where the RTUs are usually located? On the roof. Like also the question is directing you, is asking you roof. Let's look at the overall roof plan. There are how many RTUs? There are 5 RTUs, but where the detail for the screen wall could be? Again, stay with me on this one. There are different ways to find the details. We explained at the beginning that certain information not necessarily you can find on a specific drawings. Remember also, drawings are not perfect, so maybe you don't have a straight information right away. How can you find the detail? Maybe you need to look, you see on the left, the section that says 3A 6.24. Or maybe you need to look into the exterior elevations. So by looking at the detail, the section 3A 624, you cannot find the actual answer. So where you don't find the answer, just keep going, don't give up. We understand that there is the pressure of the exam, but just don't give up. You know that the answer must be there somewhere. Look better the drawings. And remember, when we said that you need also to pay attention on general notes and other details like typical details. So it can be in any location of the plans, but that are applicable to maybe what we are looking for. So for the screen wall, what can we do? Do you see here that I enlarged? It says screen wall C4 in A6 to 6.24. This section for a 6.24 doesn't provide the response. But look to the right, to the adjacent detail. That talks about roof screen wall. This one could be an option, or you just go through the building section and you will go page by page until you will find the detail, because the question clearly asks for a detail. So now, in this detail, the adjacent, you can see the sequence of installation, and that is the correct answer. We know that it's tough, but that is the way how we are guiding you to be flexible. Any question?
Great, thank you, Monica. So again, I want to go ahead and encourage everybody to raise your hand if you have questions about this specific example. Or if you have a question about a specific project that you're working on, or that maybe you heard of something that that relates to this presentation that's still unclear, feel free to raise your hand. Again, we can't stress enough how important it is to have open communication, and raise your hand. It's also part of the IOR duties, right? It's to be able to have open communication and be able to express yourself in a clear and concise manner. So feel free to raise your hand. As I'm talking, I'm searching for any raised hands about this specific example. And if you don't have any questions now, or if you think of a question later, or maybe you don't want to have an open mic discussion with us now, you can always email us at oshpd.fddisu@oshpd.ca.gov. Again, that's oshpod.fddisu at oshpod.ca.gov. So, Monica, I don't see any hands raised. So, go if you'd like to go ahead and continue with the presentation. The presentation is all yours.
Okay, no problem. I'll go with the other example. So this is the example 3. Again, same process. I will go through the example. If you have any question, raise your hand and we will go through the open mic. So the question reads, soil utility room 2B21 lowercase work is blank high and blank long. To reconnect to the prior question, you need to look only to B21. You don't look other things. You just focus on 2B21. Where is 2B21? Remember, the first number identify the floor, so it's the second floor. In order to look into the specific interior elevation, you need to find the right callout. Where can you find it? In the set of plans, you can find it in the noted plans. Remember, you need to go to the master index of drawings and read where the specific noted plans are identified, which is the page number. You need always to go back again. I keep repeating over and over and over, master drawing index. You will find the second floor plan and you will see in A1.52B. In the page that it shows here, you can find the room 2B12. The interior elevation callout is A8.03. So let's go to that page. In this page, you can see the interior elevation for room 2B21. And here you can see the dimensions. But pay attention to the question and to the information provided. It happens that people misread the information. They don't read properly the plan. And it is instinct to just to add the 2 feet 6 inches, the 3 feet, and then 1 foot and 3 inches, and that one will give you the 6 feet and 9 inches. And most of the people will feel tempted to say that is the answer. The answer is wrong because you need to consider the filler because that is the continuation of the casework. So the right answer is 6 feet and 11 inches. That was easy, right? Any question?
Again, feel free to raise your hand. I know we've mentioned it a couple of times, but this is your opportunity to have a discussion with those of us on the inspection services team that will be proctoring your exam and being able to go ahead and handle those exams for you. So, Paul, I see that you have your hand raised, so I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. So if you can unmute yourself, that'd be great.
Paul?
Hello. Paul, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you.
Okay, sure. So I'm just wondering the filler. I'm looking for the measurement. How did you get? Where's the 2 inch for the filler on that detail?
It's mapped 6 feet and 11 inches. So you go.
Oh, I see. I got it. Yeah, I see. Okay, thank you. I see.
You're very welcome. Believe me, many people made that mistake.
Yeah, and no, that's a great question, Paul. Great clarifying question, because again, if you go back to an exam setting, you're going to be sitting there and you're going to be a little nervous first and foremost, because you've taken time out of your busy schedule to take the exam. You've applied, you've gone through the application process, and now you're sitting in an exam in front of a couple of screens in a computer screen. Being able to answer these questions that we're looking for very specific answers. So be sure to look at all the details, look at the measurements, and right there where Monica has that filler outlined or circled, that could trip you up. So look at the question again, read it word for word. If we're asking for a specific detail, a detail number, specific measurement, look at your overall options. So Tim, I see you have your hand raised, so I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. If you can unmute yourself, that would be great.
There we go.
Tim, go ahead.
not so specific to this. I understand where you're going, but just in general. So I think you touched on it a little bit about having the computer screens. How or what program, I guess, more specifically, will we be allowed to use to view these documents? I think that's my question. Is
Yeah, definitely, Steve. Again, on March 30, I really recommend you guys to register for March 30th. We will go through all of this. So each candidate will have a computer. On this computer will be PDF. You will only have PDF. You will have you will have a Word document where the questions are, and then you will have the PDF for drawings. You will have PDF for code reference when you will do the code portion, and you will go through. You will have 2 blank paper where you will write your notes, and that's it. So it's the Acrobat Adobe that you are going to use. And the handouts that are right now on the GoToWebinar, start to download those, because in the end of this, each of you will have 2 homework. There's no obligation to do the homework, but will be 2 questions. So download the PDF so you start to get familiar. And on Thursday, when we are going to do the second part, we will go through the answer for these 2 homeworks. And is a good way for you guys to do some practice on PDF if you are not familiar, so you can start to go through. Of course, these are plans that are not going to be used for the exam, but the criteria is identical.
This is Joe. I'm sorry, this is Joe Labrie speaking with ISU also. Just to further embellish a little bit of what Monica was describing. You're going to have software, all the software you need, PDF readers, and whatever else is needed to be able to navigate through the plans. The plans you use, the plans you see in this examples, this is actually the plans that have been used for the last 20 years or some crazy amount. So ISU is in the process of updating the plans, so you won't be using these plans. We're using these plans now for tutorial purposes. There'll be a new set of plans for you to be able to use. And you'll be able to get through them. You'll be able to zoom in on them all you need to, move around, open multiple windows, have a couple monitors. As Monica mentioned, that meeting on March 30th is going to be good to kind of give you an orientation of what to expect in that way.
Yeah, and if I could add to this, is Caesar, if I can add to what Joe just explained, March 30th, and we were going to get to that at the end of the presentation, but March 30th on our website, there is a link where you can register for the instruction of IOR exams, and what that's going to be for. We're going to explain to you what exactly to expect during the exam. We're going to go over what Monica and Joe explained at further length and detail as far as what software, how the exam is going to be laid out, what to expect, what hardware is going to be there, monitors, keyboards, et cetera, et cetera. So if you haven't done so already, it's going to be March 30th, 2021. And it's titled Instruction of IOR Exam. So feel free to jump on our website and register for that if that's something that you're interested in. So thank you for that. So Monica, Joe, anything else?
Okay, so I go to the second example, the fourth example. Okay, 2 more examples. What's up?
I'm sorry, Monica. I didn't see Tim. Tim, are you there? I see your hand is raised. I'd like to go ahead and unmute you. And
sorry, I'm good.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so let's go to the fourth example. The question reads, the frame header assembly for door number 1B03B shall consist of, and again, you will have 4 multiple answer. Of course, only one is right. So first of all, you need to look into what? You need to look into the door schedule, which is A7.01. How do you know? You go to the master drawing index for the information. There you can see where the header detail is located for the specific door number 1B03B. The schedule guides you to look on, so if I circle two portions on the door number, the width, which is 3 feet and 8 inch, and the head that has a detail number, DH8. Look for the DH8 for the head details. Where do you find the detail? You need to look A7.51 from where? From the master drawing index. Look for the DH detail and it directs you a circle. It says C structural drawing S4.4. So what you need to do is to go to the S4.4 to get the answer. So once that you are on the S4.4, you have the header schedule. Remember the 3 feet and 8 inches of opening, which gives you the first opportunity on the rough opening that goes from 0 to 6 feet and 4 inches. That is the answer. So in this case, usually is very common sometimes to see this information where into the architectural drawings, but in this case it's on the structural. So really continue, please, to be flexible. Don't be stubborn. I know that there is the panic during the exam, but be flexible. Read the details where there are the call out. Questions?
All right. Again, we want to go ahead and encourage this open mic communication and dialogue. I'm going to go ahead and search for any raised hands that we might have within the from you all. So again, we really encourage you to raise your hand and have just to ask a question. It might be silly to you, and you might be embarrassed that you don't want to ask a silly question, or the question might pertain to something that's 101 basic understanding, but you never know. There might be somebody else who has the same type of question and is really shy to raise their hand. But Glenn, thank you for raising your hand. I see that you're there. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. So if you can unmute yourself, that'd be great. Glenn?
Yeah, hi. You're actually, I asked the question in the text section about the PDF being searchable, and I got the reply yes. So if the plans are all linked together and searchable, they should, because I'm trying to practice by going along with the presentation and using the plans that were provided. They are not searchable, so not able to keep up. But
so if I may recommend, this is a way that if I was you, what I would do is go into the drawing index. Okay, so that is always the key. And look straight forward, whatever is the drawing that you are looking for. If you think that many times, for example, the following questions is also for reflected seating. And so right on when you will have the white sheets, the white paper, write down the drawing number. So for you would be faster to go back whatever you will need. But again, we will go through March 30th for research, so don't panic.
Yeah, and
also, if I can add, let me just throw something in there because it's important to note. We've gone to great lengths to make these as searchable as possible. These plans, we've tried to do the OCR and so on. But remember that not everything in the document will be searchable. We'll do our best to give you every opportunity to find answers in places that are searchable, but we can't guarantee that that's going to be provided completely. So, as Monica said, it's important to familiarize yourself at the beginning of the exam with the different sheets, the index page, and so on. You will have complete Zoom capability. It's just not everything will be completely searchable or, indexed in a way that you can find quickly by searching and seeking it.
Right.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. I was going to mention the same thing, that although the plans are going to be in a PDF format, some of it's going to be searchable, some of it may not, as the OCR may not have recognized the text reader. So, we've done the best that we can to help you out as much as possible. So, so with that being said, Alexander, I see that you have your hand raised as well. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. So if you can unmute yourself, that'd be great. Alexander?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
We can
Yes.
hear you.
Yeah, so I'm a city inspector, and because of the pandemic, we've had to use the PDF format as well, Adobe Acrobat. It's absolutely horrendous. It takes so much time to navigate for those sections that you can't search. So what I'm wondering is it possible to have more time than the typical allotted 2 hours, since this is kind of a new sequence that we're not going to be able to have the physical plans?
Now, what we will do, no, we are not going to change the time. Actually, if you think how it used to be before, we have the same amount of time with less quantity of questions. So actually, that one already is helping you guys. But what we are going to do for the plan reading, for the plan exam, we are going to have the how is called the page with the specific drawing page per each drawing. So once and again, we will go through on March 30th. So you will go through, you can scroll there and it will be faster. I guarantee it will be faster.
Okay, and lastly, the system. I don't know if OSHPD has had any plans submitted through a system like Procore. I have found that it's extremely useful as a digital tool for plans, just because you can jump so quickly to all the plan views and the cuts and those specific details that make it super maneuverable. I don't know if that would be an option.
This is, personally, I'm very familiar with Procore and I like it, but this is not the system that we're using for the exam. So, no.
Yeah, and thank you. That's something that we could definitely look into in the future, Alexander. And but for right now, the way that we've laid it out is it's in PDF format. Also, keep in mind that although the plans are going to be in PDF format, the actual the test questions and the reference documents, such as the codes, are going to be in PDF format as well. So that searchable feature is going to be usable in the codes to be able to help you find the correct answer. So, where you might take a little more time in the plans, you might make that up within the code portion of the exam as well. So, just keep that in mind. And again, it's intended to be helpful and useful for everyone to hopefully be successful in the exam. But Procore is something that we could definitely look at, and other options as well as we move forward with the exams in the future. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and give it a once over here to see if we have any more raised hands. And thank you everyone who has raised their hand and wanted to participate in the open mic session of this presentation. Again, it's an open mic, not intended to be cut and dry, more intended to answer your questions and provide you examples of what to expect on the exam. So I'm looking it over, and I don't see any more raised hands, Monica. So if you'd like to continue. Oh, I'm sorry, I misspoke. Bradley, I see you have your hand raised. I'd like to go ahead and call on you, so I'll unmute you if you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was posting in the chat that this March 30th meeting, I've been searching through the ISU site and I can't find any way to get it added to my calendar. Is there a way you can send a link out in the chat?
Yeah, so Bradley, I believe I responded to your question. It's not on the ISU site. It's actually on OSHPD's webpage under webinars. So if you go to, I'll walk you through it. So if you go, everyone on the webinar, if you go to our website, if you're able to do that now, so go to oshpd.ca.gov, and then on the left-hand side in the blue banner, it says Building Safety and Finance. Click there, and then go to Forms, Training, and Resources. And once you click there, on the left-hand side, there's going to be in blue, it says Webinar. So click on Webinars. Scroll down to the Inspection Services Unit section of that page. And under Inspection Services Unit, after the plan reading webinars, you'll see Hospital Inspector Certification Exam Prep, plan reading section. So we hope that that helps. If not, if you can't find it, feel free to email us.
I'm going to put it in the chat box too. If you guys can't see it, tell me. I just put it in there. You should be able to find it from that.
Yeah. The website, I hit the drop down, then it goes the forums, trainings, and resources. And then I guess it's this find webinars, right? So, okay.
Take a look at the link I just popped in there. See if that gets you there. It's got a spot there where you can register. So just click here to register.
And if you have, if you still have problems registering for it, send us an email, and we would be happy to help you with that, or just send you that link directly. So, Bradley, thank you for raising your hand. I'm going to look through the names again, look for any more raised hands, and I don't see any more. So, Monica, if you'd like to continue.
Okay, so let's go with the last question. The question reads, according to the plans, the ceiling finish within workroom 1C25 should be. So what you need to do, you need to look 1C25, which is in which floor? It is the number 1, so it's the first floor. So it could be on, so if you look the master drawing index that are highlighted here, that 4 different ceiling plan because they are enlarged. So there are 2 for the first floor, 2 for the second floor, part A, part B. But of course, this is the first floor. And so it could be A3.01A or A301B, which are the reflected ceiling plans. Again, you need to look only that specific room. So once you find the room 1C25, pay attention on the pattern of the ceiling, okay? Then what you need to do, you need to look for the ceiling legend, which is on the top right. And you see all the information about the ceiling legend. But what you need to do, you need to look exactly what is in the legend and what is matching with the room, which is that hatch pattern that says clean room type, and that is the answer. So don't be tempted to look around for more information. Just focus on that specific room, and that is the answer. Questions?
All right, that's a lot of good information, a lot of useful information for you who are looking to take the exam here pretty soon. Again, I'm looking through the list of names, and I don't see any hands raised. So I do want to remind you that if you have a question that you think of after we sign off today, email us at oshpd.fddisu and at oshpd.ca.gov. I also want to go ahead and remind those who are having problems downloading the handouts, specifically the presentation handout for today, go ahead and send us an email to that email address and ask for a copy of this presentation. We would be happy to hit reply and provide you an attachment of the presentation if you can't download it from the GoTo panel today. So again, Monica, I don't see any more hands raised. Did you want to go ahead? Oh, looks like I have Douglas. Douglas, you have your hand raised. I want to go ahead and unmute you if you'd like to unmute yourself. Douglas?
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir. We can go ahead.
So I think I signed up for all 8 of these webinars, but I only received confirmation for today and Thursday. Did all those confirmations go out, or should I sign up for them again? Or
you should have the confirmation, but we can follow up with you after if you want.
Okay, perfect. That's it.
No
Great,
problem.
thank you. And Mr. Stark, I believe you had your hand up. I'd like to give you the opportunity to go ahead and speak up, Mr. Stark.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
Okay, thank you. Again, thank you for all that have been able to raise your hand and at least ask a question, and it might be beneficial to others who have have the same question and just don't want to go ahead and raise that hand. And again, if you have a question, you want to have a discussion offline, send us an email, and us at the Inspection Services Unit would be happy to have that conversation with you. Monica, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
No, so at this point, here there are the two homeworks that we want to give to you. You will use the handout that we uploaded into the GoToWebinar, like Cesar said, and you will use this PDF in order to answer to these two questions. You can send to us the response at the email provided in the next slide. Is the same email address that Cesar keeps sharing, which is correct. And you don't have any obligation to do this homework. It is just if you want to use it. We could not upload the entire set of drawings because the file was way too big. So we are breaking down discipline by discipline and upload at every webinar. So once you will have this homework assigned, you will take a look, you download the PDF, you will give the answer if you want to oshpd.fddisu@oshpod.ca.gov. If you want, ideally, if you can give to us the answer today, because on Thursday at 1 p.m. we will have the second part, which we are going through these two homeworks, and that's all for today.
All right. I want to go ahead and remind you that those handouts, we did upload them into the GoTo handout bar there, but if you can't download those, email us at that email address and we'd be happy to provide those for you. Real quick, want to let everyone know that we do have more of these sessions coming up. We have on February 18th, we have part 2 of the architectural portion. February 23rd, we're doing structural part 1. February 25th, structural part 2. March 9th, mechanical plumbing part 1. March 11th, mechanical plumbing part 2. March 16th, electrical part 1. March 18th, electrical part 2. March 23rd, fire, life, and safety part 1. March 25th, fire, life, and safety part 2. And March 30th, instruction of IOR exams. This information is also on our website. I know I went through it kind of quick. It's also on our website at oshpd.ca.gov. And just like we went over earlier, it's under Building Safety and Finance, under Forms, Training, and Resources. And then you go to Webinars, scroll down to the Inspection Services Unit, and there you'll see the list of all of these dates where we're going to be presenting more webinars. So, Joe, are you there? Would you like to add anything else?
Yeah, I just want to do one last thing before we close. You guys could do us a huge favor here, everybody on this phone call, and I can see there's something like, 70 people, 73 people. You guys, here's what I want to ask you to do. As we close this thing, it will help us to understand where you're all coming from and how to assemble webinars. If you can give us some insights to what you are familiar with. So what I want to ask you guys to do, if you would do us a favor, is you won't be called on, but you just raise your hand, and just if you have a deep, or if you feel like you have a strong familiarity or background in reading plans, just raise your hand so we can see who you are. We're not going to call on you. I just want to see if that's 10 people or if that's 3 people or if that's everybody. So I see a lot of hands going up. That gives us a strong indication that this stuff that we're talking about today is largely review and something that may or may not be beneficial, because if you're really strong in this, maybe it's not something you really need. We're going to go ahead and finish this either way. We're going to complete this, but it is helpful for us to see who has that background. So thank you for doing that for us.
Yeah, and Joe, and if I can add to what you just said, those who have a strong background in plan reading, if there's an experience that you might find that others can benefit from, where you looked at a plan a certain way or a certain out of the box sort of thing that you are willing to share with us, please do so. This is something that we're putting together for all of you to help those who might not have that strong background, and we're looking to help you out the best we can, and your experiences will help others along the way. So, we are one big group. We are a selected few, inspectors out there doing the best that you can to maintain these high quality projects. So, Joe, Monica, if there's nothing else, I'd like to go ahead and conclude the presentation. Again,
thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you very much. We want to go ahead and conclude this presentation. Please feel free to go to our website and register for more of these sessions as we're going to go through architectural, structural, mechanical, plumbing, fire, life safety, electrical, and so on. So with that being said, we want to thank you for your interest in becoming a certified inspector of record with the Office of Statewide Health Planning and Development. So until next time, be sure to stay healthy and stay safe.